wearing an earpiece when I was driving. I want to make that clear. I'd also like to say that I am a proud American homemaker. There's not a guilty bone in my body about that one. I don't hide it. I advertise it, and anybody who has a problem with that, get over it. I want to first really quickly say that I have a background in event planning, and I know what it takes to put something like this on. And if you have felt filled today, and if you are going to be leaving today feeling smarter, feeling like you have direction, and feeling like you are definitely ready to take an active role, then remember that it was a group of people who stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, we want to provide this, and a group of people who made it happen. So let's take a minute and thank Scott and Anna and all those people. Up here, and I'm pretty excited to have the opportunity to come up. I'm going to be gone every weekend traveling somewhere in the country, and I just happened to be able to be in town this weekend, so I was really excited I could come up. I want to start out by talking about one of my founding fathers, I think one of my favorite founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. Yeah. And for those of you who are familiar with the events of the Constitutional Convention, when that document was finally signed, and those men exited that building, there were so many people for months who had wanted to know, what are they talking about? And they had sworn a vow of secrecy and silence, not because they were trying to hide anything, but because they were still trying to figure it out. And they didn't want to get information out that they hadn't really decided on. And so nothing was discussed outside of that room, but they discussed it inside. And so when they came out, there was a lot of curiosity. And people were really interested. And this was a topic of discussion at tables and bars and in alleys. I mean, at the market. It was the talk of the day. And so when Benjamin Franklin came out, a woman approached him and she said, Mr. Franklin, what have you given us? And he said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Now, if there's one thing that I have learned in my study of the Founding Fathers, it is not that they were ignorant, out of touch, racist, homophobic, bigoted, land-owning pigs, okay? They were extremely intelligent. They were the best and the brightest that God had to offer in the world at that time. And they all lived in a very small little geographic area, found each other, and created one of the most remarkable documents that has ever been on the face of this earth. Amen. Then he must have had an idea in his head when he said, if you can keep it, what that would mean. He knew how easy it would be for men in power to assert that power and authority that was not granted to them if we were not diligently watching. He knew how easy it would be for us to forget what the Republic was about and the ideas that made it strong if we were not constantly reminding ourselves. He knew how easy it would be for us to start looking to the government to solve our problems. He knew keeping the Republic would be hard work, a firm understanding of the principles of liberty, and an unwavering commitment to preserve them. Benjamin Franklin knew what a challenge it would be to sustain the Republic, but he fervently believed if ever there were a people who could do it, it would be us. And after 2 centuries of freedom, I think we've done a pretty good job, better than any other nation. We have definitely not done our due diligence to the Republic. In fact, the Republic our founding fathers left to us is hardly recognizable anymore. All the things our founding fathers feared, warned us about, and tried so desperately to protect us against are the very things that we are facing today. Yes. Have you ever taken an opportunity to just sit back and read the grievances to the King and the Declaration of Independence? Yes. You know what? All you would have to do is erase King George and put United States Congress, and it is the same. Yes. Our founding fathers knew what we would be up against because they had seen centuries of it take place. They knew what it would take for the Republic to continue. They knew that it would take one people united under one flag, sharing one spirit of allegiance with this one nation. But we are no longer united. Our founders knew that if we did not study our history and heritage, we would eventually forget it. And we have. Our founders knew that if we looked to the government for our welfare, they would soon hold our welfare in their hands. And they do. Our founders knew that if we relied on the government to solve our problems, the government would become our problem, and it has. Forgive me. This is a fight that I really strongly believe in. You've heard this said a couple of times today. I missed Joe this morning, but I've heard him before, so I'm sure he's probably said the same thing. The harsh reality is, if we do not like where we are, we only have ourselves to blame. There is no one else. Our founding fathers fought so hard, sacrificing everything for the dream of freedom so that we could live it. And we have been living it, and it's been awesome. But we've been so busy living it that we forgot to preserve and protect it. Freedom is not free. It takes work. If we want it to sustain, we have got to teach our children what freedom is. We cannot count on the fact that they're learning it in our schools because we know they aren't. They are not graduating citizens. They are graduating people who don't like their country. If we want patriots, we've got to raise them in our own homes. If we want people who are going to understand and respect the Constitution, then we need to first do it ourselves, and then we need to teach it to our children and influence within our sphere of influence. It has to start with us, folks. That's the only place we can go. We cannot rely on anyone else, but we can stand with each other. There are a couple of things that I want to encourage you to do. We take these things with us everywhere we go. A pocket constitution and the 5,000-year leap. I am like the prophetess. Read this and we will preserve liberty. This is such a simple book. Someone out there said the most brilliant thing. It's like taking, the 10 Commandments was Warren, wasn't it? Wasn't it Warren? You take the 10 Commandments, and then by the time you get to Jesus, there were 2,000 and something commandments. Well, we've got, way beyond 2,000 laws in this country. They're absolutely ridiculous and beyond anything in the Constitution. Our whole entire thinking has changed. We have to go back to those foundational principles that our founding fathers started this nation on that made us so unique in the whole entire eons of time that this world existed when they established the Constitution. And these principles of liberty are outlined in this book. If you can learn these things and you can internalize them, you can share them with other people, and you will inspire people. But it will also help you realize, do you really want freedom? I ask this question to people, do you really, really want freedom? Because what that means is that every bit of government help, money, subjugation that you have, you are willing to right now say, you can have it back. If you're willing to do that, you truly want freedom. So, there are a lot of people out there who have said that they don't get involved in these things because it's political and they don't do politics.